That whole matte luminous claim. Okay, so today we are testing out the newly formulated Huda Beauty Faux Filter Flawless Foundation. So I have tried the original formula and I effing hated it because it had fragrance so heavily in it that one, the fragrance gave me a headache, and two, it gave me acne. And Huda, which all credit to her and the brand, listened to their customers. Revolutionary.
Wow.
Listened to their customers and reformulated their foundation to exclude the fragrance and also make it non-comedogenic. So you know I was all up in that. You know. So we are testing it out today. We are doing a review. Now, if you do enjoy the video, make sure you do give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps my channel out so much and I truly appreciate it. And let's get into this first impressions / full review. I'll explain in a second. Let's go. Now let's talk about what has changed with this foundation. So the product info on her website says, Faux Filter is back with the same full coverage and long-lasting properties you know and love from the OG formula, but with 24-hour flexible wear, a luminous matte finish, and it's fragrance-free. Do love a good fragrance-free foundation.
I like it a lot.
The True Filter effect gives instant coverage so seamless that it immediately unifies skin tone and texture as it blurs skin to give a radiant finish. The non-cakey formula is life-proof, and in brackets it's got waterproof, super long wear, 24 hours, transfer-proof, fade-proof, sweat-proof, humidity-proof, and I have seen somewhere mask-proof as well. No matter what the weather, occasion, or situation, Faux Filter Luminous Matte will never let you down. So, some pretty bold claims. Most foundations do have quite bold claims. I will give them that. They basically promise that they are going to be the next best thing since sliced bread, and they never usually are, to be completely honest with you. But we are going to put this foundation to the test. Now, in a few moments, you are going to see past Tina, and she is going to show you like the first impressions of putting this foundation on, basically. And then we are going to fast forward to future Tina. I don't know what future Tina's life's like right now, so hi future Tina when we see her.
Hi. 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 Hi.
I am going to basically test this foundation out over the next couple of days. I'm going to try it in all different kinds of ways, and then I'm going to come back as future Tina and I'm going to give you my proper thoughts and opinion and review on this foundation, because I don't know about you guys, but I personally like to see a little bit of a first impressions plus an actual, like, I've been testing this for a bit and I know what I'm thinking, you know? Because sometimes your first impressions can be like, I fucking hate this foundation, and then 3 days later you figured out how to really work it for your skin and you're like, I love it. So I want to give you guys the full experience, the best of both worlds. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Alrighty, you guys are zoomed in nice and close. Hopefully you can really see what my skin looks like.
I look like a giant egghead.
Because I have all of my hair pushed out of my face. So I'm gonna love editing this, I can assure you. Anyway, let's go ahead and try this. I'm gonna do one half of my face with a brush, the other half with a sponge, so we can get an idea of like what works better. I am in the shade Custard 220N. I picked this off the website. I have no idea if it's gonna match me or not. It was just a light neutral shade, and usually that works for me. I'm going to use my Delium Tools 957 Precision Kabuki brush on my brush side, and this is how much of the foundation I've taken for one half of my face. So that was pretty much just one pump. It's probably actually a lot. That is a lot, but we'll see how we go. I might just actually dot this. Okay, so definitely too dark for me without a tan, straight off the bat. And I really hope that this foundation does not oxidize because it's definitely too dark, but that's okay. Oh, it's actually shearing out to probably be slightly okay. It's also a lot more yellow undertone than I would probably hope for with a neutral undertone, but it could be because it's just slightly too dark for me, but that's all right. I mean, it spread very easily. It definitely, like with the brush, and again, I haven't put any primer on either, you guys, just so you know. So first impression, this is one layer, and I have combo oily skin, like you know, but it is actually a little bit on the dry side at the moment just because I've changed my retinol to a bit of a stronger one. So it is a bit drier than normal. Based off my first impressions with one layer with the brush, It's definitely a medium coverage. That's not a full coverage to me at all. You can definitely still see all my blemish scars peeking through here, but it does look very lightweight, and it is clinging to some dry patches on my forehead that I have right now from my retinol. But again, like normally you would be oily skin, I'm gonna presume, if you wear this kind of a foundation. So I'm gonna take my sponge for the other half of my face, and this is the amount that I've taken. So again, you can see that was just one pump, and I'm just going to kind of pounce this all over this side of the face. It's actually not looking too bad with just this layer. It's not full coverage, this layer, so I would build it up a little bit more. However, in saying that, if this was just like an everyday, like I'm just quickly running out the door and I don't want to look like I'm wearing a lot of makeup, it's actually looking quite nice. Definitely not settling into fine lines. It is tacky still, so it definitely hasn't dried down yet. But yeah, let's go ahead and I'm actually gonna build this up a little bit. I like the sponge. I'm gonna build it up with the sponge just because that's how I normally like to do my makeup. Do go through phases with a brush. Sometimes I go through a brush phase, but mostly I use a sponge. So I'm gonna build this up to what I like, and then I'm gonna let you guys know what it looks like after I've built it up, you know? Okay, so I have built this foundation up as much as I want to. This was one additional layer, and I used about 1.5 extra pumps for this layer. So all up, I've used about 3-ish pumps, probably not quite a full pump though. So, I mean, the dollop that you saw me use,
The dollop.
what a word, I like that word. Anyway, the dollop that you saw me use on the brush and the sponge is basically what I did for the second layer. I didn't use much more than that. Now, I've had this on for literally about a minute now with the second layer, and it's still a little bit tacky, so it'll be interesting to see how this dries down and how quickly it dries down. It really is honestly reminding me of the YSL All Hours foundation, just straight up. That's my instant first reaction, is it's reminding me of the YSL All Hours foundation. It kind of settles into my pores just a little bit more than I would like. But in saying that, I've probably built this up a little bit more than I would normally, like in real life, which is what I do with the YSL one when I film as well, because I usually, like I've said a few times on my channel before, I put more makeup on when I film because the camera really doesn't pick it up well. It kind of washes you out a little bit. So I think like when I did that first layer and it wasn't that full coverage, that looked quite lovely on my skin. So over the next couple of days, I'll test the foundation out with like that thinner layer and with like this kind of layer and just see how it kind of wears, so that I can, again, so future Tina can come and give you the thoughts and the deets on that. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my face. I'm gonna film me doing the rest of my face so that, and I'm gonna like time lapse it in, like speed it through. So I won't talk through it or anything, just so that you can see, if you're interested, what other products layer like in the first impressions on top of this foundation. And then after that, you're gonna see future teens and get her thoughts. So let's go. Okay, hello future teens here, coming at you. It is now Friday the 5th of February at 8:23 a.m. I'm watching Ellie Glines, as you can tell, because she's just an absolute ledge. Anyway, so it is 8:24 in the morning. I have never filmed this early before, ever, so you guys are literally watching the coffee like kick in as we speak. But anyway, let's get on to my thoughts. So I have been testing this all week. I have tested it for the last 4 days. I know I didn't actually take a screenshot of my phone when I first started this, so you're just gonna have to trust me, okay? Hopefully we have a relationship of trust. But I genuinely have been testing this over the last couple of days. I've been testing it for 4 days in total. Now, I am so glad that I did this video this way. I am so glad that I did this video as a first impressions and as an actual review. Let me tell you why. Because the first 2 days when I tried this foundation, I was like, it's okay, but I don't really like it that much. Like, as in, it'll be a foundation that I'll use for my videos because it's full coverage and I want to use it and I don't want to waste it, but that's about it. And then the last 2 days made me fall in love with it. Now there is a reason for this, and I'm going to tell you why right now, because I know you just can't wait for it. The first 2 days that I tried this foundation, I used it as like my foundation for filming videos. So I was filming a video, which I do put more makeup on my face when I film because the camera washes the makeup out a lot. So you do need to put more on. It's kind of just a universal thing, you know? But also, to be completely honest with you, I just built this up to be full coverage, as you probably saw in the first impressions. But the first layer of this foundation, when you put it on, is definitely more of a medium coverage, not a full coverage. For example, if you compare this to the Jouer high coverage foundation, where you need like a dot of that and it is bam, full coverage from the get-go, this is not like that. This is a buildable full coverage, if that kind of makes sense. However, when I made this like that full coverage, I did not love it. I didn't hate it. I've definitely got worse foundations in my collection, so I definitely didn't hate it. I just wasn't like, this makes my skin look good. Do you know what I mean? But the last 2 days, I use this foundation like I would in my kind of like everyday life when I'm not going on camera, and that's kind of how I've done it today as well. I've used a lot less of this foundation. I kept it towards that medium to very light full coverage, and then kind of use my CoverGirl setting powder in light to add the additional coverage, if that kind of makes sense, which is kind of how I like to do things. And I fell in love with this foundation. When you use less of this foundation, it looks so much more flawless on your skin, at least on my skin. When I use less, it doesn't settle into my pores, it doesn't settle into my fine lines, it smooths my texture out, it just looks good. Like, I genuinely really like this foundation and genuinely really want to reach for it now when I use less of it. When I build it up to be that full coverage, I don't love it as much. Like, if I wanted full flawless blank canvas coverage, I would stick to my Jouer high coverage foundation, because that at a full coverage level feels lightweight, it smooths pores, it doesn't settle in fine lines, etc. This is better as a medium to very light full coverage, if that kind of makes sense. Now, in terms of formula, because the old one gave me acne, this one does not break me out. As you can tell, I do not have any breakouts at the moment. Well, I have one here, but that's a separate story. But this does not give me any breakouts, which means that the fragrance-free and the non-comedogenic claims for my sensitive skin, obviously everyone's skin type is different and there could still be an ingredient in here that you react to. However, for me, doesn't break me out, which makes me very happy indeed. So overall, my thoughts on this foundation is that it is actually a nice foundation. I very much appreciate the new formula. I love that it doesn't break me out, and I can actually see myself consistently reaching for this, and the shade is off for me. However, I have worked out a way to use it with my concealer to actually make this foundation work for me in my current fair skin type and also my tan skin type, if that kind of makes sense. I can just make the shade work for me is what I'm trying to say there. And that whole matte luminous claim, I'd actually agree with. Like, I look more glowy than I normally do. And I have the last couple of days, but it's also not a glow where I'm like, ugh, this makes me look like an old bag, because usually hydrating glowy foundations make me look like an old bag. This doesn't do that. So yeah, you guys, I'm surprised at how much I'm really liking this foundation.
I think it's really good.
So that's my 2 cents on the matter. I know that you just had to know them. I really do. Okay, so that is the end of this review of the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Foundation in the new and improved formula. I think I've said all my thoughts. I don't think I need to say anything else. Let me know, did you pick up the new formula? What do you think of it? Are you thinking about picking it up? Just let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to know. What other foundations do you recommend as well that I should try, by the way? Knowing my combo oily skin, what should I try? What should I try next? Let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please do not forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I truly appreciate it, especially if you're watching to this point. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye!